where students won't complain, you know.
That's the way to do it.
For the rest of the 7-8 years I have of my career, I want to have a good life. Okay, guys, good morning. Please download week8.zip from Blackboard under weekly learning. And unzip it, and we'll start working on the first one, which is called donations. So I'll open it too, and then we'll work on it together. So it should be under weekly learning, under your class scripts 2018, right? So I'll start with donations, and then we'll go on to, I won't do employees. I'll kind of I'll do it together, donations and employees together. Then to grade center, and then to cookie sales. That's the aim today. Okay, let's start with the Okay, so the aim today is to basically learn a few string functions, I say a few because there are many, and then the rest you can handle yourself, right? And then work with some complex select statements. So you learn something new today in select. We haven't yet done it, the group and the having, and some inbuilt functions with select like min, max, average, so on and so forth, right? So that's the aim, and we'll do it in 3 scripts. I'll combine the donations and the employees, so we won't need employees. I'll do it in donations. Then we'll go to grade center, and then we'll go to cookie sales. So that's what we are covering today. You'll do a little bit of alter, which you've already done, but just so that it's there. I'll discuss something that I've copied, in the sense I've taken it from a table that doesn't belong to me, and I'll point out what is not good in that table. Before I forget, midterm exams have been posted, and the rubric is with you. I haven't heard back from anybody, so I'm assuming you're satisfied with how it was marked. But I want to make one thing very clear. At least for 4 or 5 students, there were syntax errors in the code. And I said on my instructions, once I find a syntax error, I stop marking. That's what it is. So if you do not know something, don't put it there. It's as easy as that, right? At least the rest of the script works. Because then I have to go back, check what the syntax error is, correct it, and then go forward. And I think a couple of students had 4 to 5 syntax errors because they didn't set up the first one, they didn't correct the first one, they never did the second, the third, the fourth, or the fifth. I really don't have time to do all this, right? I need a perfect program that is running, and whatever you give me, I'll mark. So that's what I do. I run your code. I see, oh, these are the outputs I require. I check the outputs against the outputs that I know should be. Everything looks fine. Takes me 5 minutes to browse your script just to see, oh, yeah, everything is done. Small things like, oh, equality hasn't been missed. Small things, and it takes me 5 minutes. My job is done. But if I start marking and then I have to correct your script while I mark, it takes me half hour. Now, I don't want to be cruel and give you a 0, but I can keep going on like this with 70 students. You know what I mean? So please, in future, starting today, I'll mark what I see. So your assignment 4 has not yet been marked. I thought we would mark it together, but I'm not up to it today. I want to finish this, and then maybe next week we'll mark it together. The alter one you did before the reading week. And any assignments or exams moving forward now, I will mark what I see. So I'll look at the output. Whatever output is correct, I'll mark it, and I'll see, oh, you've written the right code for it, and then I'll ignore the rest. I really can do it. It takes me a lot of time. And if things are not working, how are you expecting me to give you marks for an output? Okay, so please keep that in mind. Run your script before you submit it. I know sometimes mistakes can happen, and that's okay, right? You did something last minute and you said, oh, it should work, and you didn't check. And I can understand that, right? I can understand that. And I see your script and I say, oh, that was a silly mistake. Oh, that's okay. But if there are 4 or 5 syntax errors in your code, that means you're not even paying attention to what you're doing. And I won't mark it after this, right? So please keep that in mind. Else, this time in the midterm, I marked everybody's, whether it was running, whether it wasn't running. I took off marks for what was not running, corrected it, commented it, moved forward, and marked everything. So you have more marks than what you should have if your script was not running properly. But that's, having said that, done, it was midterm. I know it's a big deal. It's 20% of your mark. I know it was an exam, so maybe you were stressed. Nothing now, right? So please pay attention this point onwards. We've done half semester. I'm hoping the rest of the half will be more, you'll be more responsible. And you're doing quite well. But maybe exams are exams, okay? And another thing, believe it or not, if I've asked you 10 things, if I need 10 outputs and I'm getting 25 outputs, I'm not asking you to give me a select statement everywhere you do something. I'm not asking you to give me a describe statement everywhere you do it. All I'm saying is, please describe your table, please select all the records. So please only do what I need to do. Because in that case, again, I have to remove those extra statements because I don't want to see them. Because then I'm confused of which is what is answer. If I've been saying describe the table, I'm only looking for describe. I'm not looking for describe and select. Because now which is the right answer? Again, I'm guessing, oh, describe is the right answer. I should be giving you a 0. I asked you for describing the table and you're saying describe and you're saying select. It's not my responsibility to see which is right. I don't know whether you know which is right. So again, this time again let it go. I've said please describe the table and you're saying description of the table, select star from the table. Who asked that? So, and which one is the right answer? Do I take select, which is wrong, or do I take describe, which is right? Again, this time I again did it, and yesterday actually I had to remove 25 lines of code to mark an assignment. Can you imagine? Like they were just there because, and I hadn't asked for it. So that's a lot of time and effort on my part, which I don't want to do. I would rather spend it on you, teaching you new stuff or answering your questions or giving you more. That's where I would like to spend my time. Okay. So please only give what is asked for. I know what I'm asking for. So don't worry about the rest. I know what I want from you. And it's numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. And there were not numbers in many exams also. So I'm guessing, oh, this is the first answer. This is the second. Oh, he didn't know the third. So he's left out the third. So this is the fourth. You know what I mean? They were not even numbered. So I don't know, like that's not the right attitude to work in the real world at all. You will have to learn to follow instructions. So again, I've been lenient. I just can't be, I say I will be, but at the end of the day, I always give marks because I say, oh, the student has done it at least, like he's tried, and I do it. But you have a part also to play, and please play your part, okay? Okay, so let's start with the first script. These scripts are available on Blackboard under week8.zip. Unload it, unzip them, open the first one. I'm working on donations first. And the main aim of this script is to introduce you to string functions. So we'll do a few string functions here, which doesn't mean that's the end of it. So if you go and look at the string functions that are available in MySQL, there are a few, of course. So here is a list. Of course, I can't do all of them, but you're a programmer. You know how to work with methods. You do Java. So these are just string functions. And there are some common ones which you will recognize, and you don't even have to look at them, like length. Will tell you the length of a text. String means anything that is text. In string may not be very clear, but in string says look for something in a string. Lower will convert everything into lower. Upper will convert everything into upper. You've already used concat in one of your assignments. And right and left and mid, substring will pick up a part of a string, string compare will compare strings, and so on, right? So my aim today is to do a few of them with you as I do this first script, and I'm assuming and hoping that you can pick up the rest, right? Okay, so what I have here is a small table. Comments are missing, that's okay. There's a small table here in which there is an ID, which is the primary key, and I've just written the primary key separately in a separate line just to show you that you don't have to necessarily write it where it belongs. You can write it as a separate statement, and this comes handy in a week. You will see, maybe next week you will see, when I have to create a composite primary key. Till now your primary keys have always been a single field, but if you have to create a composite one, more than one fields, then this is the place where you'll place it. You'll put a comma and then you'll put the name of the second field. Remember, a primary key can be composite in nature. Okay, in that case you can put primary in front of the two fields. So for example, if first name and last name together were the primary key, I can put primary in front of these two fields, because every table can only have a primary key. Then you use this notation. You would write it like this. You would say first name comma last name, and that would become your primary key. So this table has a primary key. The primary key has been called ID. It's an int. I would go, so again, as I said, this is a table that I just kind of picked up from for an example. I would go unsigned. Auto increment just says that it will automatically be incremented. You could go smaller with int because there are only 3 records, but I didn't change that. Who knows how many trillions of records have to be saved in this. And it's about donations being made by people to a particular political party in a particular riding. So you will notice that there is Eric Smith here. So first name, last name, and then the recipient of the donation. So the recipient says, oh, I'm giving a donation to the Liberal Party in Barrie. The other one says to the Conservative Party in Simcoe North and NDP in London South. Now there are extra blanks in the beginning, at the end, again in the beginning, in the middle too, which cannot be removed by a function easily. You can remove it by coding. It's no big deal. You know how to do it. You can pick it up. You can then break it on the blank and then recombine it, concatenate it back. So it can be done through a little bit of programming, but there is no inbuilt function that can remove blanks from between words, right? But trim function can remove these blanks afterwards, and so on. So the aim of this script is to pick up this field, which is text in nature. It's a var-char of 255. To pick up this field and split it into 2 parts. There are only 2 things in it. One, the name and riding, and one, the name of the political party, right? So the name of the place, Barrie, Simcoe North, London South, go in a different column, and Liberal Party, Conservative Party, and NDP go in a different column. You'll say why? Maybe that was the requirement. It was just put, and now they want to kind of divide it into 2 columns. So we'll learn how to pick up a text string, whether it is a string, whether it is hard-coded data, whether it's a variable, whether it's a field, really doesn't matter. To pick it up and learn how to split it on a delimiter. If you notice, they are separated by a comma. Now, here you will need to peek in the table. You need to know how the data is saved, because how will you otherwise separate it? You have to know, are they separated by a comma, by a semicolon, by a tab, by a blank? So this is the first time where I'm saying, oh, you can peek in the data, right? Till now, I've always said, you can't see what the data is. You always answer, you always do your selects, updates, deletes based on what you have. So is the table in the first normal form? Yes, I see a primary key, right? All fields are non-repetitive in the sense there is no repetitive data in the field. They're atomic in nature, in other words. Now the recipient has data in it, which is not atomic in nature, but keep in mind that this data is not repetitive. It's 2 different things. One is the name of the riding and one is the name of the party. So repetitive data doesn't mean, oh, it has more than 1 pieces of data. Repetitive data is something like favorite sites. So it's the same kind of data where you're keeping your favorite sites. Okay, so that's different from this. So it is in the first normal form. The aim is to break this up, and I'll show you a few ways. And the rest, as I said, you can learn your functions on your own. The first thing I've done is I've altered the table because I need 2 new columns. I've added a column called riding, var-char 30, and I've added a column called party. You could call it political party or whatever. And I've given them 30 each. You could have gone 40, 50, Really, I mean, that's not a big deal, but we don't need 255 for them, is what I'm trying to say, right? So name of a riding, 30 characters. As I said, 50 is not bad, but I don't think we need 100 for it. And the name of the party, again, 30 is not bad. You could go 40 or 50, but 100 again, you don't need. So we're talking about political parties in Canada, if you recognize it, right? Okay, so I've altered the table. I've added 2 columns. I haven't given them any other properties, whether they are not null or whatever. I just want to take data, split it up and put it in these 2 columns. So they will be filled up. I don't have to update them. I don't have to put anything in them yet. The updation has to be done by taking this recipient from here, picking up the recipient, breaking it up into 2 parts. It could have been 3, it could have been 4, it could be anything. Once you know how to do one, you should know how to do the other things also, right? So if you see it in an assignment, you should know how it works. So I know that the data, the riding and the party are being separated by a comma. See, there's a comma between here, there is a comma here, and there is a comma here. So that gives me an advantage. So if I can find the comma's position, anything to the left of it is the riding name and anything to the right of it is my political party name. So there are a few ways of doing it. There are a few functions you can use. So I'll give you a couple of answers. You can choose whatever makes sense to you in the sense, oh, I understand this, but my aim is to introduce you to some string functions. So let's start. So right now, if you run this script, basically there is not much in it, but if you run this script, it should run successfully, of course. So here is what the table is. Here is the structure of the table. And that's all. When I look at your output, that's how I read. If I read that, if I see you've done what I've asked, you've got your marks. Why should I go and look at your code if it's all right here? You know, so if the field is, I've said, make it unsigned, make it 0 default, it should be auto increment. This tells me, the structure tells me. So there is a reason I'm asking you to show me the structure. So I run the script, I look at the outputs. Oh, all outputs are correct. It takes me 5 minutes to go through the script quickly. Update has been done using one statement. Equality is okay. Things are okay, like the things that I know you could miss, and I'm done, right? And then comes the table again, which is useless but right now because riding and party are empty, but that's our aim, to fill them up. Okay, so the 2 columns were added. Riding was added and party was added. Just for your information, the solution of your midterm is up on Blackboard. It has been posted under weekly learning, I think under solutions or something. So if you would like to look at it, sure, though I have given my feedback in most of the midterm, sometimes I may miss it. Okay, so let's start looking at it. Let's see, how do we populate it? So as I said, there are a few options. So I'll do those few options with you, okay? The first function I'm going to use is this one, which is easy, the easiest to use. So I'll use this function first. There is a function called substring index, which says I can work on a string variable, a string field, or a string itself, like Anju Chawla, right? A string, hard-coded data. I can look for a delimiter for you. So how is your data divided? And there is a count value here, which I'll tell you what that count means. Count means, are you looking for the first delimiter? Are you looking for the second delimiter? As I said, your field could be bigger. You could have more than one delimiters. Are you looking from the left-hand side? Are you looking from the right-hand side? Right? So I'm going to use this. So look at this small example they've given. They are saying in www.mysql.com, look for the dot, look for the second dot, and then pick up the data. So it will pick up all the data till here. So it will pick up www.mysql. Why? Because the second dot is after the MySQL and everything before is picked up. The same thing is being done now with the -2. So instead of starting from the left, you have to start from the right. So from the right, look for the second dot. Where is the second dot? After the www. So what will be your answer? mysql.com. So that gives you an idea. So 2 is saying look from the left, -2 is saying look from the right. 2 is saying look for the second dot, and 2 is also saying look for the second. That means you can either go from left or right. You can extract wherever you like. Okay. So now let's go forward and use this function to get my riding and my political party. Okay, so let's try it. Let's update the table, because you want to fill in data in records that already exist. The name of the table is table donations. You want to set two things. One, the riding to something, and two, the party to something. Right? So I've just kind of written the skeleton, I'll fill it up. So that's your update statements. Update the name of the table, set whatever fields you want to set. If there are more than one fields, you have to separate them by a comma and a semicolon at the end of the statement. Some programmers like to put their semicolon on a separate line. That way they don't forget it. You know what I mean? So that's another way of doing it. Now this indentation of writing and party together is just for neatness. It's easy to read code. Keep in mind, your code should be easy to read too. That way, the programmers who are working with you will appreciate it. And so will you. Try looking at some codes on the web. Some are so easy to read and understand because they have been indented properly. They have been done, good jobs have been done with them. They have good comments. And some they just don't bother. And it's such a tough time reading them. Okay, now let's pick it up. So I'm going to use that function called substring. Oops, substring. And it was called substring index. Now the parameters it required was which field do you want to work with? I want to work with the recipient field. That's my string. Again, as I say, it could have been a variable. You'll say, we have not done variables in SQL yet. Yeah, but you will, maybe in your second course, string variables, right? Or it could be hard-coded data like my name or your name or whatever. It could be hard-coded data, but that's not what I want. I want to pick up the recipient from the table. What am I looking for? I'm looking for the comma. Comma is my delimiter. So comma is what is dividing the two. Better to see now, right? So the comma is the delimiter. It's dividing the two fields. I know there are two fields. I have to know. And the third says, okay, do you want to pick up something from the left-hand side or something from the right-hand side? So the writing is on the left, and I'm looking for the first comma. Till the first comma, I want to pick up everything. So think about it. Barry will be picked up from the first one. What was the second? Simcoe North will be picked up from the second one, and London South will be picked up from the third one. So look for the first comma from the left and pick it up and assign it to writing. And for this party, what should you be doing? You will do the same thing. Instead of looking from the right, from the left, you have to look from the right. So look for the first comma from the right, and whatever is after that before that first comma, pick it up and put it in party. Right, and that's it. So update my table, set it, put this into party, put this into this, and your job is done. And why do I have a red mark? What am I missing? Oh, I'm missing my commas here. My own commas are missing there. There are three parameters, right? There are three parameters, and my third parameter was not separated by a comma. So if you see a red squiggly, something is wrong. You don't even have to run it. There is something wrong in the syntax. So there could be syntax errors, or there could be logical errors. And logical errors are shown when you run it. You will see that errors come up in the window at the bottom. So it's your job to ensure that there are no syntax errors and no logical errors in any of your assignments or your exam, the final exam starting now. I won't mark it. I'm really serious. And especially mid-final exam, that time we have to do everything in 3 days and give everything the results. I don't have really time. I'm almost marking 15 to 18 hours a day because I have to finish it off. Okay, so be careful. Okay, let's try if it works. Was it populated? So let's run it. And since I already have a select from in my third one, oh, there it is. Barry has gone into writing. I'll drop this column. I don't need the recipient column, but I'll drop it after I've finished it. But I see a few untidy things here. Liberal Party has extra columns in the front. Barry has extra columns. Simcoe North has extra columns. So how can, sorry, not columns, extra blank spaces. How can I remove them? Is there a function that allows you to remove spaces from right and left? You've done that function? Trim, perfect. So just put a trim here. So that way, your data is neat. As I said, you can remove the extra blanks from between simco and all, but that's not the point right now. This is what I'm trying to do right now. Done. Easy, right? Now this looks easy because there was only one comma, but suppose there were 4 parts to it. Suppose you are doing 6 courses and your courses were listed under courses column, and it was, you knew there are 6 of them and they were separated by commas, and your job is to break them up into 6 different columns. Then you have to be a little more careful. So looking from the left only for the first is easy. Looking from the right only for the first is easy. But if you say, oh, look from the right or left for the second comma, then you have a bigger string. You are getting 2 things together. You may have to break it up. So you will have an assignment to work with that complication, and hopefully you can do it. So one job done. Is that the only way? No, let's look at another way. Let's look at another way now. And this is again just another string function to be used. So I'm going to now use another function called inString, which is looking for something in a string. So for example, just so that you see how it works before I start using it, I'm going to say select, I think it's called inString. No, it seems like it's called something else. Maybe it's not a whole word. Yep, it's not a whole word. There it is. I'm now looking for something here. I'm showing you how the inString works. And once you know how it works, then I'll combine it, because this was just using a function, but now I'm going to write nested functions. So in the recipient field, I'm looking for where does the comma occur. Now, you've never seen such kind of selects where you're not even using any fields or whatever, but there's nothing wrong. Select is like a display, right? So I'm saying, show me the position of the comma in the recipient field from my table. Is it called table donation? Let's see what the result of this will be. So there are 3 fields, there are 3 records. I should have 3 rows in my answer. There. So it says the comma is occurring at position 13 in the first one, position 22 in the second one, and position 33 in the third one. If you like, you could have shown the recipient here also. I mean, just for the heck of it. And then this is the position of comma. So let's kind of say position of comma. Then it's a little more neater and clearer. But the aim is to show you how inString works. That's the aim for now. So it's telling me that the comma is occurring at 13 in the first one, and this is easy to see. So let's see that. 1, London is LONDON 6, blank is 7, 7 and 5 is 12, and then 13th comma. So it is right? So this one, I don't know how many blanks in, but London South has no blanks before it. It's a normal London blank South. So the comma is occurring at the 3rd position. Now, why am I trying to do this inString function? If I know the position of my comma, I know everything to the left is the name of the riding, and everything to the right is the name of the party. So why don't I use that now? Okay, so let's use that now. So you'll say, I mean, if this works, why should I learn this? Because the aim is to introduce you to a few functions, right? And now the functions I'm going to use are left, right, and I'm going to show you how they work. Again, just by an example. So there is, I can say select left. I'll use hard-coded data. I'll use my name. And select 4 characters. Let's see what happens. Similarly, there is a right and there is also a mid. There is also a mid. The mid actually works like a substring, but I'll still show you how it works. There is a mid also. But mid is a little different. So let me show you, go back to the manual and see, look for mid so that I can explain it to you. It is actually like a substring. So this is how mid works. Mid is like a substring. You are picking up something from the middle. That's why it's called mid, right? Left says I'm picking it up from the left, right says I'm picking it up from the right. Mid says I'm going to pick it up from the middle. Now that middle, now there are three functions that you can use. You can use mid, you can use this substr without the full ing, or you can use substring. They all work the same way. All three work the same way. So I'll go with this one because the explanation is here. It's not in mid. This says go and look for substring, and mid will also say go and look for substring. So substring says, okay, which string do you want to work with, and what's the position where you want to start, right? So start is your starting position. So middle, I want to say I want to pick up something from position number 4. Right? Now, if you want to pick up from position 4 till the end of your string, you're good. But if you want to pick up a few, how many? I want to pick up 4 of them. I want to pick up 5 of them. Then you can add a third parameter called length. And that will say how many do you want to pick up. Okay. So that's how mid, substr, and substring works. The format is a little different. You can put a comma. You can put from. You can have a third parameter. You can say from and for. So let me show you how it works. The same thing, it will work. All three will work the same way. Substring, string, and mid will all work the same way. So let me show it to you. Okay, so what am I saying here? I'm saying pick up the first 4 characters from the left. I have to know how many. That's what is an extra requirement here. In substring, I didn't say how many. I just said everything before the comma. I said everything after the comma. But here I have to say how many. Let's pick up 6. How much is Chawla? CHAWLA. Let me just change it, right? Let's pick up from the right. So this is from left because the function is called left. These are 6 characters from the right. And this one says start at position 4. Or you can start at position 5. You don't have to, because 5/5 is a blank, right? So 4, 5. You can even say start at 6, or you can say start at 4, whatever. Start at position 4 and extract till the end. And just so that you know, they all work the same way. So I'll kind of copy this. And I'll put it here, and I'll put substr here. They're the same thing. And I'll again pick up this one. So this is same as above. This is same as mid. Why did they create 3 of them? Don't ask me. I have no clue. And maybe from older versions, right? And same as mid. So here I'll just use the substring. Got my semicolon here, forgot my semicolon here. Let's see how it works. Let's look at the answers of these one. So what are you expecting here? Anju. The first 4 characters from the left. What are you expecting here? Chawla. The first 6 characters from right. The mid says start at position 4. So start at position 4 means start at position 4 and go till the end. Now, if you had to pick up a few of them, like only 2 or only 3, then I'll show you that too. But let's run this. Let's see the answer. Of course, they will look very untidy in columns, but anyway, we want to see it works. Okay, so result 1 is Anju. 4 characters from the left, right? 6 characters from the right. Start at the 4th character, which is U, A-N-J-U. Start at the 4th character, go on till the end. Start at the 4th character, go on till the end. Start at the 4th character, go on till the end. Right? But this also has a third parameter. All these 3 things, all these 3 functions, not things, sorry about my, all the mid, the substring, and the substring can take a third argument also to say how many. Let's try that. So this is easy till the end, but let's try that. So let's take this one again. And I'll say just pick up the 4 of them. or maybe 5 of them. So I should get U blank C H A, right? 5 of them. So let's try that. And we'll only run this. And there it is, U blank CHA, 5 were picked up. Now by chance, if you give it a wrong number here, you say 15, and there are no 15 after that, right? Let's see what happens then. All it will do is it will ignore your 15 and go on and stop at the end. Okay, so you have an option. If you know how many, so this will give you 1. Let me write the same thing from you. So this is basically saying pick up 5 characters starting from position. And please notice it's a normal 1, 2, 3, 4 position. 4. And the 3, the same, they'll work all the same way. So I won't repeat it, right? If you put 15 and pick up 15, and of course there are not 15 characters starting from position 4 or till end, since there are less than 15 characters. If you like, I can put it on a separate line so that you can read it, but there it is. So if you give it some number which is doable, it will give you, but if you give it a number that is not doable, oh, I don't have pick up 15 characters starting from position 4, then what should I do? It will just pick up till the end. Okay, so now you know these functions. You know right, you know left, you know mid, you know subtree, you know substring, and now I'm going to use them in my second solution for the writing and the. So you've already seen so many of them, right? Of course, the length is always available. The length is always available. You can always look at length. Now this is just rough work I'm doing. Therefore, I am not kind of giving them good display names. But keep in mind, whenever you do something that you want, like in this one, I said position of comma. And these are called display names, guys. I think 25% of the class missed it in the select statement. I said, I want these names when you display. I'm not telling you to alter the table or anything, right? All you have to do is give it a display name. And the display name says, how do you want to see it on the screen? That's a display name. Display name doesn't say you will alter the table. And so maybe, I don't know, like nowhere have I said that before, that I've always called them display names. And we've done that so many times in class. But again, if you've forgotten, so that now you can remember for future, those are called display names. So when you're displaying it, it displays that name instead of whatever you are telling it to. So if I run this script, notice the name of the columns. The first, oops. What is it saying? Unknown column recipient. That's strange. Oh, because I just didn't pick up the whole thing. Okay, there. Notice this is what is called a display name. It's kind of readable. It's human readable. It's more better. So recipient wasn't bad. So I left it alone. But I don't want to see in string there as a column heading. Especially when you use functions, you will see that if you don't give them a name, that's exactly what it will say you. In string or recipient. And that's such a bad column name for display purposes. Your tables could have good names, your table fields could have good names, but sometimes I would like them to be improved a little. You use underscores there. Maybe I just want to change it to something else. So date underscore of hire, I want to say a hire date. Those are called display names. They can have blanks, they can have anything. Whatever you do, you put them in single quotes. If you have a special character inside them for whatever reason, you can always use the escape sequence and put it. Though comma will work without the escape sequence. Now that's another thing. One of the movies had apostrophe in them, right? It had quote. Many of you could do it, many of you couldn't. Whenever there is a special character inside text data, all you do is escape it by putting a slash in front of it. So a couple of you put double quotes outside and single quotes inside. It will work. It's a solution. It will work. Quote, quote will also work. You can put two of the same and you will get one of it. But a foolproof way in all languages that works is the escape sequence. And you can't go wrong. What is the escape sequence? Put a backslash in front of your special character. That's what you do, right? And once you have a special character, any special character, I don't have to bother. Are you double quote? Are you single quote? Like special character means anything that has a meaning in text data. So the double quotes have a meaning. The single quotes have a meaning. So to escape it, just say backslash and do it. So comma can be put without a backslash, comma. There's nothing, it's not delimiting it. I mean, I could just put it like this and it will work. But if I wanted to put a quote, then this is how I would put it. I'll say backslash quote, and I need another backslash quote here, for example, and then the quote to close. So this will put a quote, this will put a quote, and these quotes, this one and this one, are for the text data. And this is the easiest way of doing it. You don't have to bother. Like, why would you change and make it untidy, putting double quotes just for the heck of it? See, so now it puts comma in quotes. So you say, oh, I'll just put double quotes outside. I know you can do it, but this is one way that works everywhere. And just for one record, or would you do it be inconsistent? Some data is in single quotes, some data is in double quotes. How untidy is the script? Anyway, now let's try to find out another way of updating the data. Oops. Let's update the data. Again, using this in string, left, right, mids, and so on that I have used. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to update my table again. So giving you another solution, right? I'm going to set the riding to something. I'm going to set the party to something. And I'm going to use the in string. This is what I'm going to do. Once I know the position of my comma, if it is at 13, from the left, the 12 is the name of the riding. So I'm going to do a few things here. One, I'm going to trim it, of course. So we'll go one by one. Right? Inside the trim, I'm going to use the left function because I want to extract something from the left. What do you want to extract? You want to extract the recipient. From the recipient field, you want to extract something from the left. What do you want to extract? You want to extract the first 12 characters if the comma is at 13. The first 21 characters if your comma is at 22. But I don't know where the comma is. But I can find out where the comma is by using the in string function. So in string, find out where the comma is for me. What am I looking for? Comma. And +1 because you don't want to include the comma. So if it is at position 13, you only want to pick up the 12, right? Oh, sorry, not +1, -1. There. So please look, these are trims. Outside are trims, right? Then you have a left. Left has two arguments. The first argument, which field are you working with? I'm working with the recipient fields. The second argument, how many do you want to pick up? How many characters do you want to pick up? So I am not sure. Every record has different number of characters to be picked up, but I know that they all have a comma. So find out where the comma is. From that position, subtract 1, and then that tells you how many. So look at this output that we had before. So 13 minus 1, the first 12 characters will be picked up. 22 minus 1, 21 characters will be picked up. 13 minus 1, 12 characters will be picked up. Job done. Right? So again, but these are nested functions. So you used a trim, you used a left, and inside the left, you used an in string. I know you would go with the first one, but you should know how to work with everything. Okay, let's try now to do this one. Again, we'll go with trim. It's a good idea to put your opening and closing together. Now I'm going to use the right function. Now in the right function, I definitely have to work with the recipient field. But now comes the question, how many to the right? How many do I pick up from the right? I don't know. There is one which is NDP. There is another one which was called some Liberal Party. So I don't know how many. But what can I do? If I know the total length of my field and I subtract till the comma, what I have left is how many do I have to the right? Think about it. If I know 10 is the total length of my field, and I know the comma occurs at 4. So 10 minus 4 is 6. That means I have to pick up 6 of them. Right? So let's do it. So you want to take the length of your, was it length? Oh, yeah, it is length. It could be a capital. Take the length of your recipient field. Right? From the length, subtract where the comma is occurring. So if the comma is occurring at the 13th position, subtract it. Subtract 13 from it. What are you left with is that how many you have to pick up from the right. Okay, now check if they are okay. That's for length, that's for in string, that's for right, and that's for trim. There. There's a little math involved here, but the math is simple. Think of it. Total size is 10, comma is occurring at 4. So 10 minus 4, I have to pick up 6 of them. That's my party. Right? Length tells me the total. If I subtract 13 from it, what am I left? The rest. That rest is how many I have to pick up. And I trim them because there could be extra commas. So 13 is telling me the position of the comma. I have to start picking it up from 14 till the end. But I don't know how many. But this formula will tell me how many. So let's try this now. Let's see if this works. And we should again have the same answer. So let's update it again. Oh, there is no select. How will you know it? Okay, let's update it again. And it still works. It will work. Right? So this one is also working. The substring index was also working, and this one is also working. It is more complicated, but the whole idea is to kind of give you all options. Let me show you another option. Instead of using right, I'll use the mid. Because mid tells you where to start, right? So mid says where to start. That was easy. So this is where you have to start. This is the position of the comma. You have to start from the comma's position plus 1 and till the end. So mid says, where do I start? I start at 14, 24, and 14. So you can use mid. You say pick up the mid, start from this position. Why did I do a plus 1? Because if the comma is at 13, I want to start from 14. If it is at 22, I want to start from 23. And this should also work. And of course, since we've already said this, we've already said that mids and substrings are the same thing, this should also work. You can replace the mid by substring. And this will also work. And of course, you also said that it will work with substr. So this will also work. All three will work. In the whole process, you've learned at least 10 string functions. Substring index, substr, substring, mid, left, right, length. You've learned so many. And they will all work. Right? And if you want to work them one by one, you can pick up them by one and run them. So this is the substring one. Should work. If the mid works, this will work. There. Right? So if substring is working, we already know that substring, and mid are the same things. And they will all work. So of course, you are not going to give all 5 or 4 solutions. You can pick up whatever you like. So I've given you 5 solutions for the same thing using different functions. Okay? So, and a few easy ones, though it's not so important, but here are a few easy ones, which are very common. If you want to convert everything into lowercase or uppercase, there is a function called upper, and it will convert. So I'm going to put my name in small. I'm just going to say, give it a, this will convert everything into uppercase. Doesn't matter if they are in upper or lower or a mixture, doesn't matter, right? This will convert everything into lowercase. If it is already in lowercase, doesn't, that's what I'm saying, whatever is converted. So these are easy ones. So here Anju Chawla will all be converted into, now you're saying convert Anju Chawla, which is already lower into lower. So it's not going to do anything, but let's try something which will do something. I can leave the Chawla alone. I mean, it's just showing you that how they work. So upper converts your argument. It could be a field. So suppose you've input data into trillions of records, and now you, to be consistent, you want them to be all in uppercase or all in lowercase or something. You can just use this on the field and it will change. You can use it on the recipient field and it will change. Right? So if you want to look what the answers are, so lowercase, Anju Chawla in lowercase and Anju Chawla in uppercase. I don't know if there is a proper case. Proper case means every word starts with a capital letter. It would be nice to have a proper case. That way, if you've written somebody's name, then it will take your first name and last name and change them into proper case. I don't know. I haven't. Maybe it's called U case, synonym for upper. No, okay, so that's not you. Oh, there is a space. It says return a string of the specified number of spaces. Compare sounds. Right trim. You can only do right trims. You can only do left trims also. But I don't see a proper case. Or capitalize. Sometimes it is called C. Character length, concat. No, okay. So there is no proper case. It would be nice to have a proper case, because with names, especially with names, we want only the first word, our first name and last name, the first word to be letter to be capitalized. But anyway, there it is, right? And now once everything is done, you can always drop the recipient column if required. It's not a compulsion, but the whole aim was that it was untidy and it wasn't readable and we didn't want it. So therefore we wanted to split it up. And if you don't remember, here is how we do it. We alter our table and we drop the column. And oops. So alter my table. The table name is table donations. And drop the column recipient. And of course, if you do that, and you can run the whole script once now, just for the heck of it, I'll put this uppercase and lowercase somewhere where I did the other untidy things. I'll kind of just put them together so that you can see it. So as I said, I've shown you a few ways, but it depends on how you want to work with it. So of course you won't keep all 6 of them, but they should work. They will work. I mean, you can pick up one at a time, and that's what I did. As I wrote them, I kind of ran them. So that's another thing. Maybe you say, oh, she does it so many ways, I'll also show her all the ways. But in an exam, that's not what I'm expecting. I'm asking a question, I need an answer. If I'm saying give me describe, give me the describe statement. If If I'm saying give me select the records, I'm asking for select. Otherwise, how will I know whether you know it or not if you're giving me both answers? I never asked it. Don't give it to me. Okay, so let's save this and run it once for the last time. So the last ones are not very important, or the middle ones are not very important to us, but here is our last table. The column has been dropped. The recipient has gone. The writing and party are neat enough. I mean, at the end of the day, which one worked was the last one that worked. And of course, if you want to describe the table, you can describe the table also. Though there's nothing I did. I just added 2 columns which are showing up here and the values are showing up here. So those are a few string functions. The rest, if it is in an exam or in an assignment, you do it yourself. Okay? Okay, so I'll save this and I'll put it on Blackboard when I'm done. Okay, let's open the next one now. Let's open the Grade Center now. Something new to be learned in Grade Center. So I'm going to save it as so that I have it where I want it in your week Thursday. Week 8. Okay, now what is the purpose of this? Now again, the data has been copied from a source. It's not the best of the designs, and I'll point it out to you so that you can appreciate it. But the requirement was, oh, just a list of students, the courses they have taken, the marks they have, all together in one go. I wouldn't create a table like this in a real database. But here, what we are trying to do is we are trying to look for students who have scored 80% or higher in at least 2 subjects. So this is like a tutoring database, right? So you go and say, oh, I need a tutor for relational database. Hopefully you don't, but I need a tutor for relational database. So what does the person do? The person goes through the database, through this table, in where information about all students are kept, like all students. The course the student has taken, the marks the student has got, all courses they have taken, and so on and so forth. But before they assign a tutor to you, they want to check, is the student good enough to be a tutor? And how is it checked? The student should have 80% or more in at least 2 subjects of their semester, or whatever till now. So suppose you're in semester 2, you've done 6 courses already. All information of all the 6 courses will be there for you. Your marks will be there. You will be picked up. Did you have 80, like your dean's list, same thing, right? Did you have 80%, more than 80% in 2 subjects? Yes. Yeah, you are good to be a tutor. That's how it is working. Okay, that's the aim of this script. So let's look through it. Let's look what it contains and then how do we do it. So logically, what do you have to do? You have to take each student and kind of group all the subjects that the student has done. So all information about students has to be kind of grouped because it's in one big table. So I take student 1's information, student 2's information, students 3. Then I check, has the student done at least 2 courses? Because otherwise, if he's only done 1 in the college, he's not even, he's out, he's not in the list. Then I check, has the student done at least 2 courses? If the student has done at least 2 courses, then I will check, has he or she got more than 80%? So 3 steps to be done. The first step, take your table and split up the table into records. Every student records kind of are grouped together. Then look at each group. If there are less than 2 records in a group, you eliminate it because the student has not done 2 courses or more. If the student has done 2 courses or more, then you check, does he have 80% in at least 2 of them? Maybe he's only done 2, then in both of them. Maybe he's done 3 in at least 2 of them. Maybe he's done 4 in at least 2 of them. So those are the 3 logical steps you have to do. Grouping, checking if he has done at least 2 courses. 3, he has 80% in at least 2 of them. Right? So let's go step by step. But before I do that, I'm going to show you what does the table contain. So this is the table which has no primary key. The student's first name, the student's last name, the student number, Don't be lazy. It was not my work. I should have corrected it before. Makes no sense being lazy. It's always, remember, databases are created and they live forever. So if the names are not good, then you have to go back every time. Oh, was it called student num? Was it called student no? Was it called student number? It's better to give names that are clean and clear, okay? Because they exist for ages. And then here is the data. Please pay attention to the data. The student number is not unique because information about a student like Flynn is present at two places. So Flynn has done COMP2003, which is a relational database, has also done 2007, which I don't know what it is. But because she's done two courses, Flynn is a girl's name. Is that okay? I think so, right? So since she's done two courses, there are two records for her. Similarly, Fletcher, Baljeet. So some people only have one course, some have two. I see Isabella has done two. Flynn has done three actually, no two. Fletcher, Baljeet doesn't have a last name, so there is a blank, but Baljeet also has done two. And look at their marks. Some people have got marks in 60s and 50s. Others have gone marks in 80s and 90s and 100s. So the aim is to take this data, extract one group at a time. So everything about Flynn, everything about Fletcher, everything about Baljeet, Monogram, whatever, those names are difficult, and so on and so forth. And then see how many courses have they done. Have they done one course? You're out. Have you done two? Okay, you are in. 3 in, 4 in, so on and so forth. Now, of these, did you get at least 80% in 2 or more? You are good for a tutor. So at the end of the day, I want to print the names of all those students who are good for tutors. So we'll go step by step. The first thing is this table in the first normal form? Nope, because I don't see a primary key. Though the second condition is okay. First name is atomic, no repeating data, no repeat. I didn't say courses, it's one per course, no repeating data, right? Then can one of the fields act as a primary key? Any of these fields or combination can act as a primary key. You can say, oh, maybe the combination of these two can act as a primary key. But again, we always say maybe a student has the same name. So we keep away from it. Can student number act as a primary key because it is unique? Yes, but look at the data. Information about Flynn is at two places, here and again here. So it is unique, but it is not unique in the table because there are two records for Flynn. So for this table, you could either say, oh, the design of the table is poor, which I agree with, but it's just for tutoring. So maybe they don't want to create more than one tables, keep the names separately. But there is a problem here. Information about Flynn, her name and her ID are repeated as many times in as many records as the courses she has taken, which is wastage of space and energy. You'll say, what do you mean by energy? Energy means, suppose Flynn changes her name from Flynn to, I don't know, Rita, right? I'll have to make changes in all those records where Flynn is occurring. Flynn has to become Rita. You'll say, oh, that's a simple one. I'll do an update and it works. Yeah, that's okay. But duplicate data is never good. Keep away from duplicate data. That's what you learn in your programming also. You'll say, oh, I'll copy the code. No, don't copy the code. Create a method that does the job and call the method every time you need it. Right? So this is not a very good design because the name of the student and his or her ID number are repeated in every record. But the rest of the information, the course she is taking and the grade is required. I could create a better table, but that you haven't yet learned. Maybe next week we will be ready to learn it. But as it stands, we have to use this table. So we cannot use the student number as our primary key. We cannot do it because the student number is unique for sure. But is it unique in the data? No, because the same student has more than one records. So how will you add a primary key? So is the table in the first normal form? No, because there is no primary key in the table. So let us add a primary key. Now, designating a primary key is different from adding. If student number had been unique, I would have said add primary key. Most of you, 90% of the class has done a modify to put a primary key. If a field already is present and you want to make it a primary key, all you have to say is alter table, add primary key and give the name of the field. You're not changing it. You're not modifying it. So why should you write that extra statement? You'll say, how does it matter? It's more work for the engine. You're saying modify, change and modify take more time than just saying, oh, you are the primary key. Right? So be careful of writing efficient code because you're working with trillions of records and many tables and a huge storage every time you're working on a database. And data mining in itself is huge. So don't write inefficient code. Here I don't have an option. If student number was unique, I would have done that. But here all I have to do is I have to add a new one. And when you add a new one, the only option you have is what? An auto increment primary key. That's your only option because you have to give it a value straight away and a unique value. So let's add a column. You can call it whatever you like. Usually the notion is, or the convention is, you call it ID. Small or capital doesn't matter, but you can call it student ID also if you like. You're going to add a student ID column or just ID because it's not the student ID actually, it's just an identification. The only option I have is I make it integer. You could go small int, but because there are only 10 records, but I'm not going, I don't know. At Georgian College, maybe there are thousands of records, right? I will make it unsigned for sure. I have to make it auto increment because you can't add a primary key with no values. And it is a primary key. Please understand, once you say primary key, you don't have to say not null with it. A primary key by default is not null and unique. So you don't have to add not null. You shouldn't be adding it. If you're adding not null, it means you don't understand what a primary key is. So again, I haven't docked off marks, but I've made a note in most that not null is redundant. You don't need it. When you say primary key, it is by default not null and unique. Now, done. I have a primary key now. Now my table is in. So if I now select it and run it, let's see if everything works okay till date. So there is the ID. I'll put it in the first position just because it looks better. Baljeet doesn't have a last name. That's okay. That's my table. I added an ID, which was unsigned, null no. See, automatically it did a null no. I didn't say not null. It's a primary key. It's an auto increment. How do you make it to be the first field? All you do is say first. And it will occur in the first position. Is it necessary? No. It just looks neater. It's always good to see identification in the first column. Okay. Right. So my table is now in the first normal form. So just for your information, if you have forgotten how to add a primary key which already exists, I'll put it here, but of course it is incorrect. You say add primary key, and if you wanted the student number to be the primary key, this is how you would have written it. You don't change or modify if the student number was unique. Which it is not. Then you don't change or modify. Then you just go alter my table and make this the primary key. Why would you use modify? You're not modifying anything. You're not changing its name or change. You're not changing its name or type. I'm not doing anything with it. Why would I do it? So we just say add primary key. But for us, it doesn't work because, as I said, because it is not unique. Okay, so now another thing that again I haven't done in before scripts is notice how I have a single insert statement because it's not mine. As I said, I copied it from another script. I didn't bother to change it, but that's another way some programmers write. They'll write a single insert statement for every insert that they do. It's up to them. You know what I mean? It's just a personal preference. Some people like to put the list here, the whole list. What am I inserting? So it's all personal preference. When you really work in the real world, it depends upon the organization you're working with, the people you're working, and your own personal preference. And you get into the habit of just doing what you do. Okay. So just so that you can see, oh, I can do this too. I can just write them singularly. I don't have to say one and then put commas, commas, commas between all of them. There can be single individual statements. Okay. So now comes the question. Now come the two questions that I want to work with you. It says, create the list of potential tutors by providing the first and last name of all the students that have received 80% or higher in at least 2 classes listed alphabetically by last name. Right? So I'll kind of go there and there. Okay, so these are the two questions and then the average mark. You know what? Let's take a break because it will take at least 10-15 minutes to do the first one. Take a break, 20-minute break, come back by 9:30 and then we'll complete these two. है क्या कर रहे हैं आप लोग?
It's not gonna be anything more than what was already written. Yeah. No, I think he might be giving me the last one. Either he told me on the step or he gave me that last one. It was when you which both are technically correct, but probably supposed to be correct. But I guess, yeah, either way. I got the minute. Oh yeah, I guess the other ones were, they were something. Yeah. I don't know how I got up here for that. Nothing will change.
Okay, guys, let's move forward now. Is everybody back? Are we missing? Sunshine is missing. I know it's a couple of minutes before, but okay, let me wait for a couple of minutes for her. Because we still have a couple of minutes for the break. Okay, guys, so let's start. Anybody missing still? Are you all okay? Okay, good. So let's start now. So one step at a time, right? We need the name of the students, and it says the list of potential tutors by providing the first name and last name. Okay, so that's easy. Select first name, comma, last name. I could concatenate it, but I'll concatenate it to in the second one, okay? We, of course, know from which table we want to work, from the table grade center. And now comes the things, the three things we have to do. We have to group our students. We have to pick students where they have at least done 2 classes. Only then it makes sense that, oh, I pick them up. And then of those 2 or more classes, they have 80% in 2 or more classes. Okay, so one step at a time. And the order by is not a big thing. The order by can be done very easily by saying order by last name. So I don't know how many of you know it. You can use last name here. You can use it. Of course, you can use the name of the field here, but you can also use the position here. You can also say order by 2. Kind of that comes handy when you're working with calculated fields because they don't have a name. Calculated fields don't have a name. And so in that case, you kind of look at, oh, where do they occur in my select list? And then you can use it. You can do this also. And of course, you can use the name also. Okay, now let's do what we have to do. So one, we know that the grade should be greater than or equal to 80. One job done. But now comes the question, how do I group the students? Because grade greater than or equal to 80 means, oh, give me all students, because that's not what we want. We want to group the students and then if the student has done more than two courses, two or more courses, then I want to look at them. So I have to kind of select records which for students who are at least done two or more courses. So my job is this. This is how I do it. I group the records. How can you group the records? How should you be grouping the records? Student number. Perfect, right? Because all students who are the same student will have the same student number. Again, you could have used name, but we'll keep away from name. Why? Because names can again be duplicates, assuming that they're not, but they can be. We can't use ID, of course, because here ID is not playing the part of recognizing the student at all. It was just a primary key that was created. So group them by student number. Okay, so the grouping is done. So all students having the same number have been put into groups. Then kind of think it this way. Now, of these groups, which groups do I want to even look at? How many courses each of these students must have done? Two or more, right? So how do you say that? You say having. So as you use where with from, you use having with groups. So group and having are siblings, from and where are siblings. So when you say from the table where, you are saying check this condition from the table. When you use having, you're saying check this condition on my groups. And now you want to say, oh, the number of subjects they have done should be at least 2. So you want to count the number of subjects they have done. So there is a count function that is available, an inbuilt function called count. And what are you counting? Number of records for that student, but you have to count something from there, right? So you could be maybe counting his course number, or you could even count his student number. So when you're grouping, all you have to do is you have to say how many courses have you done, and those courses should be greater than or equal to 2. So you can do the count on any field that makes, like, I mean, all fields will make sense, but you can do it on any field as you like. I'm writing course just because it kind of makes it more obvious. But you can do the count on anything. You can do the count on student number also. So what have you done? You have made groups. Each group contains student of the same, records of the same student, right? Because I've grouped them by student number. So group 1, one student with same number. Group 2, another student with same student number. Group 3, and so on. And now I want to pick up all those groups where the count is greater than or equal to 2. Because the student has done at least 2 courses. Or you could have said greater than 1. Both will do. And from there, the grade should be greater than or equal to 80. So this is absolutely new to you, and understand what I'm doing. Grouping allows you to group on a particular field. Our values that match will group together. So I have matched them on student number. So after this, if you kind of think about it, what will happen? All Flynns are in one group, all Baljeets are in one group, all Isabellas are in one group, and so on. So I've made groups of students. How did I make those groups? By using the student number, because that's unique for every student, right? It is a unique number that every student has. So I've not used the name. I've not used the course. I don't want to use the course. To say that this student is the same student, I have matched them on student numbers. Now I have the groups. Of these groups, I want to eliminate anybody who has done only one course. So I only have to pick up those groups in which the count of the courses is greater than or equal to 2. So what do I have now? I have the right groups now. And now I want to check, is your grade greater than or equal to 80? You've already picked up with people who have more than 2 or more. So they have received 80 or higher in at least 2 classes, right? So having is to group, as where is to from. That's how you will remember it. And then you are ordering it. The order was just as, so it's not necessary, but the ordering had to be done by name. Now, the big question here is, how does it work? Like, we do not know how does the data engine work. Does it do the grouping first? Does it first extract records which are more than or equal to 80 and then groups them? We don't know, right? We have no clue. You can read about it in the manual. It talks about database engines which are different. You have InnoDBs and ISAM and so on, and they work differently. But at the end of the day, to the common user, this is what you will write. So steps to be followed: grouping, number of courses must be 2 or more, and should have 80% at least in there. Okay, so I don't know who all will qualify for this, but let's try. So Baljit seems to qualify for, he doesn't have a last name, so he's coming first. Blank is the first. Fletcher Ferb seems to qualify, and Isabella seems to qualify. So let's go and kind of double check. I know the answer is right, but let's double check. So Baljit definitely qualifies. He has 100. He has 100 here, and I saw another Baljit also, and he has 100 here. So definitely he's done 2 courses of 80 or more. Let's look at Flynn has not qualified. Let's look at why Flynn has not qualified. She has an 88 here, and I see another Flynn somewhere. I saw another Flynn here, but notice she has 79 in there. So she doesn't have more than 80 in her second course. So she's out. Fletcher qualifies. She has 100 here. And there should be another Fletcher for Fletcher. I see another Fletcher with 100. Oh, that's another one. You can add another record and see if it works or not, but it is how it works. Isabella is qualifying. She has an 88 here, and she has a 90 here. And that's it. So you can add another record for somebody, and see we have Dr. Doofenshmirtz also here, but his marks are 78 and 55. So he doesn't qualify, right? And is there somebody only with a single record? I don't see anybody. Maybe you can just add your own record and you should not qualify even if you have 100. So if you want, we can just add another record to see if the answers are right, but I'm assuming, because not assuming, you can't assume anything. Let me add my first name. My last name. Let me give myself an ID which only works for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think, or 10. And notice how I've taken characters, because I know their sizes are fixed. I haven't gone varchar when I know their sizes. And COMP2000 really doesn't matter. 88. I have an 88, but I've only done one subject. Let's try it again. My name shouldn't come up because I've only done one course. See, I don't come up. I've only done one course. Though I have an 88, but I don't qualify because I've only done one course. People will not qualify if they've done 2 or more and their marks are less than or equal to 80. So how does the engine work? Does it first only extract the more than 80 records, then groups them, then counts them? No clue. But this is how we do it. This is how the programmer does it. And the easiest way to remember is, if you have to impose a condition on the group, use having. If you have to impose a condition on the table, use where. Okay, so we say group from is to where, as having is to group. Okay, let's go to the next one now. So this is absolutely new for you. We'll see it again in my third example, but this was an easy one to do just because there were only 2 here. It says find the average mark of each student rounded to 1 decimal place. Display the full name of the student as student name and the average as average mark. Okay, so let's do a select, and we have to concatenate the first name and the last name, which we know how to do. The function is called concat. I would like to put a blank in between my first name and last name, of course. Otherwise, it will look untidy. And it says, please call it student name. You can use the word as, you may not use it. And the second field that is required is the average mark of the student. Now, how do I find the average mark? I have to total up all the marks for a particular student. And again, I have to group it, right? So I have to group it, total it up, and then show it. So before I do that, let's group it. Let me tell it that I need you to group by student number. Does it say order by something? Let's order it by something. I want to show you how order by works on a concatenated field. I'll just add it, order by name. And I've used 1 here. Why? Because it's my first field. You have other options. You could have said, if you wanted, though it's very untidy, you could have said this. You could have said order by, untidy, but you can do it. You can say order by, and you can copy this function here. This thing, you can copy it here. That will also work. And there is actually a third way also of doing it. If your field was only one word, mine are 2, you could use that name also. You could use that name that you've given it, the display name, the alias name as it is called, right? And the second field now I want is the average mark of the student. So kind of think of it. I've already grouped them by student number. Now there is an inbuilt function called average. Just average it, right? And what are you going to average? The field of average was called grade. Just average the grade. And there it is. So there is an inbuilt function count. There is an inbuilt function average. There are others. We'll look at them. Sum, max, min. We'll look at them. There is the average gate. But it says round it to 1 place after decimal. I'll show you without it and then you can see with it. Okay. So let's see if this works. So there I am, Anju Chawla, average is 88. Remember, I only had 1 subject. Baljeet was 100 and 100, so his average is correct. But look at the number of places after decimal. By default, it is showing you 4 places after decimal. You want to round it to 1 place after decimal. This is how you will do it. You will use the round function and 1 place after the decimal. Just for your information, instead of round, you can also use casting, though it's not very popular, but I'll do it for you. And here I'll do the order by this so that you can see, oh, they both work. Kind of odd, but they work. And instead of round, you can also do cast. You can cast your grade as, now grade is 1 place after decimal. You can use a float. How many places in total? 100 is the maximum, right? 100 out of 100. So 4, 1. Doesn't like float. Am I going wrong in my unexpected float? Can I do decimal? I'm sure I've done decimal before. Oh, you can do float. You can only cast it as decimal. That's strange. Maybe average function returns a decimal value. You know what I mean? So therefore, you can only cast it as decimal. You can't go lower. You can go higher maybe. Float wasn't working. Float was giving me a red squiggly. I thought, why should I make it a decimal? Because decimals are big numbers and average marks are only out of 100. But it didn't like it. So if you look at the average function, maybe average returns a decimal and or something to do with what it returns, and you can only cast it into decimal. So why did I take 4? Because maximum marks are 100. And keep in mind, why decimal? Because even if you take the average of integers, you can have a real number. Mathematically, please understand, 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6 divided by 2 is okay. But if I say 2 and 3 is 5 and 4 is 9, and I divide it by 2, it's a 4.5. So averages can be decimal values. So you can't say, oh, the marks are all integers, so how can it be a decimal? That's a very common thing. Averages can be decimal. And this will also work. So if you want to try both, I should have the same answer, of course. So now look, they've gone to one place of decimal by casting also. They've gone to one place of rounding also by round function. And they are both sorted by the name. So you can use either. And just for the heck of it, I mean, just so that you know, you can also do this. If alias, this is called the alias name, is a single word, then you can use it in order by clause. What I mean is this. What I mean is this. So instead of student name, suppose I just called it name. That's a single word. A single word has not to be put in quotes also for your information. Though it becomes blue because it is a reserved word. Then you can say order by name here. You can even do this. To me, the order by position is the easiest because you're writing the select statement right there. You're seeing it. So you're seeing the fields and you're saying, oh, the first field, the second field, the third field. But I have changed the name from student name to name here. If it is a single word, that's important. If the alias name, these are called alias names. Therefore, we say as. They're called also known as, right? Then you can do this also. Instead of using one or using the function, you can just use the name that you've given it. So this should also work. There, that also works. So you have three options of ordering. You can order by a field name. Now, of course, if it was a field name, it was no problem. I've done this before. We've ordered by a field name, right? If it was a field name, you can mention the field name. You can mention the position. If it is a function you are using, you can write the whole function here again. But that's more, it's not so efficient because it's calling the function twice, once here, once here. This is okay. The order by position is okay. Or you can give it a name here, whatever you like. I called it name because that's what kind of sounded good. I could have called it anything else, but student, you can say student if you like, and then you can say order by student. But student name is a better heading, but you can't use a double heading. You can't use student name here because it's two words. A single word will work. So go with whatever you like. Personally, I just go with this number because it's so easy, or the first field, or the second field, the third field. It's just easy to see, right? So there is the average. So you can round it, which is better. You can cast it, which is another way of doing it. You can order it by position. You can order it by the function name, or you can order it by the alias name. But the alias name has to be singular. You can try doing it with student name. It won't work. Just because it doesn't like quotes here. See, because double names or any names that are more than one are written in quotes. If I try that here, this seems to work. Do I have an error? No. Do I have an output? Yes. Okay. But it's double names don't work. I'm sure of that. Oh yeah. See, it is working, but the answer is not correct. Notice the answer is not correct. So is it in opposite order? A, B, C, D, F, G. No, it's just not in order. It's ignored it. I would like to see a syntax error, but it's just ignored it. Right? So therefore, you cannot use more than one letters because it doesn't like this in quotes. And the only way you can do it without quotes is that this is only one word. When it is one word, you don't have to put it in quotes. I always do it by habit, but you don't have to put it in quotes. Okay, so that takes care of your grade center. Now please open up cookie sales. Now let's do this last one. I'm going to save it as in your week Thursday, week 8. So I have an assignment, but I can't remember where I've saved it. So today, sometime today, I'll look at it. It is on string functions. That's what you've kind of learned, and these extra things, which will again come up many times in join and subqueries also. So I'm not so much concerned about that. But string functions, I would like you to practice a little. I think I have an assignment somewhere, but I can't remember where I placed it. So if I can find it, I'll post it on Blackboard and you can do it in a day or so or whatever. Otherwise, we'll see. Okay, here, let's look at this one now. This database has one table. This is about Girl Scouts. These Girl Scouts sell cookies. So maybe if you were born in Canada or if you've lived in Canada for a while, you will see that you see Girl Scouts selling cookies around some kind of time. I can't remember when. So when my daughter joined it, we had to sell cookies once a year, right? And if you couldn't sell them, you had to pay from your own pocket. But they're tasty cookies. They're chocolate mint cookies. Anyway, so this information is about Girl Scouts and not much, but what it is telling you is the name of the girl, which is just a first name. What sales did she make? $32.02, $26, and what date did she sell the cookies on? So you have a name, you have a sales, you have a sales date, and the ID is the auto increment primary key. Now the ID is written in all caps, and I just want to tell you that sometimes you will see that since ID is kind of a short form of identification, you will notice that it is written in caps in some tables. So it is an auto increment integer. I will definitely add unsigned to it, though again, this is not my script. I just copied the scripts from somewhere, but I mean, they shouldn't be signed anyway. You can go with smaller, you can go with a small int if you like, but again, I don't know how many records in the table, but you can always go small int or tiny int is more than enough. I mean, in one particular, I don't know what they call it, region, I don't think you have thousands of Girl Scouts. You do have few, but you don't have thousands of Girl Scouts. So here is some information. Please notice that some days, for example, Lindsay wasn't able to sell anything on 9th of March 2007. And somebody else who couldn't sell something, yep, Ashley wasn't able to sell something on 9th of March. So there are some sales figures with 0. Keep that in mind. Otherwise, everything is not null, not null, not null. And the default value of, there is no default value, but there is sales value of 0. We do see a sales value of 0. If you like, you can always add default of 0 to sales. That way you don't have to enter it. But again, notice here how the programmer has used the whole list, not the ID, because ID is auto increment. So he or she had to use the list, first name, comma, slash, comma, sales, comma, sale date for it. If it had a default value, you can always, instead of 0 here, you can always write the word default. If something is null, you can always put a comma and say null in it. And this was in your exam also. If the number of fields that are given to you are less than the table, then you just insert those fields. You say insert into table, mention those fields and insert it. Finished. Your job is done. Or if you want to use the same insert statement, then you put default in places where those values are not available. It will automatically pick up the default from the table. Therefore, you had a default of 0 in the exam because it will pick up 0. And default of null, if you don't say anything, if you don't say not null, automatically the default is null. So you can either use null or you can use default. So if you want to keep, I will enter all the fields and you don't have values, you can't make up your own values. You will use default or you will use null, whatever is applicable. Or just use a different insert statement. Just insert those fields that you need to insert, right? Most of you were okay with it, but there were a few students who were lost, so which is okay. Okay, then comes a few statements. I've just shown everything from the table. You could just say star to see the ID also. I mean, it's no big deal. So select all records. It's always a good idea that after you've kind of done what you think should work, you kind of run the script for once and see, oh, everything is working properly. Which means my script is ready. Once the script is ready, then you can start doing your work. You always go step by step. Okay, so let's start from here now. So here are the questions and we'll write the answers. I've written the first 2 answers because you've done it many a times. I've said show all information sorted by first name. So select star, order by first name. There is no where condition, there is nothing. And I've used a field name. Nothing was, default order is ascending. So I haven't changed it, I've left it as ascending. You've done order by many times. Let's look at the second one. I've mentioned this and I'm sure I've done it, but you can order by more than one fields, a field inside a field, or more than two fields. You can be ordering at any number of fields. The first field becomes your major field. So first it will be by first name. All Anjus will come together, all Sunshines will come together, and so on and so forth, right? All Cassandras will come together. I only know girls' names here. Sorry about that, right? They will all come together. And inside that, then their sale dates will come together. Inside the sale date, if you had your sales, then they will do the order. So you can make any number of fields. You can sort on any number of fields. The first field becomes the major field. So let's see how it looks. Let's do these two. So the first is just by first name. So it's not a big deal, an ascending order. So all Nichols, Lindsay's, Brittany's, and Ashley. That's descending order. Oh, that's the second answer. Therefore, that's the first one. Ashley, Brittany's, Lindsay's, and Nicole. Normal ascending order. Look at the second one now. In the second one, the name is descending. And within name, what did we say was ascending? Sale date. So sale date is ascending. So notice how all Nichols together, but inside Nichols, the dates are in ascending order. You could have formed a third one on maybe sales, and then sales could have been either ascending or descending. So you can sort on any number of fields, and all you have to do is just kind of go 1, 2, 3, whatever fields you want. And it is in that order, first, second, third, and so on. You can use ascending or descending if you like. You may not write ascending at all, and it is the default, but that's what is ordering on more than one fields. Okay. Now let's start with what is missing. I want to show the total sales by this group, right? So show total sales for this group. That means I want to add up all the sales value. So is there something that will help me? Sure. We'll say use a sum function. You want to sum on sales. Now don't keep it as sum sales. Please give it as an alias name. We'll call it total sales. Assuming we're talking about Girl Scouts in Canada, I'll use a $sign. From which table? From the table called table cookie sales. So don't forget alias names, especially when you're using inbuilt functions or computed fields. Right? That's it. Sum gives you one value because you're summing up all the values in the table. There it is. So 385 and 25 cents. So that's the sum function. Now it says, show me the total sales by each Girl Scout. Order by total sales highest to lowest. So I want to show the total sales by each girl. So if I have to do that, what should I be again doing? Grouping. Group girls and then find their individual totals and then show them on the screen, right? So we need group by. So we'll do the selection again. But we also want to show her name. So the name field was called, let me keep the name so that I don't have to keep looking. The name field was called first name. And again, if you want to give it an alias, just say name or scout name or Girl Scout name. Name is a reserved word, so I usually try to put it in quotes. Right? But what am I missing? I have to group them. And now here, there is no unique field. The ID cannot act as it is a primary key, but it won't help me. So there is nothing else that I can do. I can assume that the first name is how I'll group them. Though first names can be duplicates, but they're not in this table, right? And then it says order by. And it says order by sales. So sales is your second field, right? Highest to lowest. That means descending. There. Make sense? So here comes group by again, because I want to find out the sales made by each girl. So keep in mind, sum returns a single value. Now when I do a grouping by, I have 4 groups. One for Nicole, one for Brittany, one for Ashley, and I forget the 4th name, right? So I have 4 groups. So I will have 4 sums. So I'm showing the name and the sum, the name and the sum. And I'm ordering it in descending order. There it is. Right? So Brittany made the most, then came Nicole, then came Ashley, and then came Lindsay. Done? So that's again grouping by. It says show the maximum sale in the group. I'll just say in the group to make it more sense. You can add those comments if you like, leave them if you like. And it shouldn't be tough because we know there is an average. If there is an average, I'm assuming there is a maximum. So let's select it. Of course, give it a good name. And we'll call it max. And of course, we won't call it, we'll say maximum sale. Oh, right? And there it is, the max function. Again, it will only give you one value. You'll say, but I mean, who made it? Can I find out who made it? This max sale, you can't find out who made it because this max sale is a value and there are 28 records there. So who made it? We will we'll do it, but we can't do it right now. We'll have to think about it, who made it in a different way. We'll have to kind of group them and then say, oh, what was your maximum? What was your maximum? And then show all their maximums and then choose the maximum of the maximums. We'll come to that. This one is the easy one. It says the minimum sale in the group. Same thing, use a different function. Same thing, use a different function. And those different functions, if you can guess, is min. Of course, I'll call it minimum sale. And the average is, oops, wrong place. Anyway, we'll pick up from here. Put it here. We'll pick up from here and put it here. And we've already done average. We've already seen it. Again, if you want to cast it, if you want to round it, you can do that. You've already learned how to do that, right? So the average sale, you want to round it to 2 places because sales is money. Minimum and maximum, I didn't bother to because it was already in the table. So whatever is in the table, I want to show, and it was already comma 2. But average, when you take out average and do division, it could be more than 2 places of decimal. So I want to just show 2 places of decimal. So try all 3. So 1 maximum value, 1 minimum value, which is 0. We saw that. And the 43.21 is somebody who made it. We can't say who made it. We really don't, because a value is being returned. Even if you put a first name in front of it, it will just give you the name in the first record. That's what it will do. It will give you the name from the, just pick this up. Because your logic is not saying, oh, I'm grouping them and I'm trying to find them. All you're saying is, what is the maximum value? That's what you're doing. So there is a single maximum value. It doesn't know who did it till you write the logic to who did it. So even if you put a first name here, it won't, like, it will give you a name, but that name will be of the first record. It just picks up the name from the first record, which is Lindsay, I think. It just picks it up, which is incorrect for your information anyway. So you can't do it because these are functions that are returning a single value. Okay, we'll learn how to do for each group. Okay, so the average done. Number of sales made, and the function to be used is count. So we've seen this before again. So we are going to say count, right? How many sales were done? And it is telling you count will not count null values. There are no null values. It had not null, but this was for your information. So how many sales were made? Number of sales that were made. This is a count of number of sales. How many sales were made? So I think 28 was the total records. There it is. Now it says, tell me the number of total sales greater than 0. So same as above, but we have to add a condition. But we have to add a condition. What should you do? Where sales is greater than 0. And now we will see 2 less, 26. Remember, there were 2 zeros. There it is. So total sales, number of sales, here you can say greater than 0. You can change this heading. And there it says total number of sales. So it's just counting. Count function is available, min is available, max is available, average is available, sum is available. Again, I'm doing some. Maybe you will have to look up others. Number of sales. Oh, number of no sales. That means 20. That means the answer should be 2, right? Where the sales is equal to 0. So these are called no sales. My answer should be 2. Sometimes I don't understand my own question, right? So number of no sales were made means the sales were 0. It can be null. I have nothing with null going on. No sales have values of 0. So these are easy. I'm just doing a counting and I'm just putting a condition. Okay. So no sales means equal to 0. Greater than 0 means, oh, they had a value. So 28 plus 2 is 20, 26 plus 2 is 28. All 3 answers are correct. Sales greater than 0 made on this date. So find out number of sales greater than 0 made on this date. So again, we have to do a counting. But with the counting, what do we have to do? We have to do the date also. And I'll refresh your memories. When you use dates, please remember to cast them as dates. So you will be putting this in text data. So 2007-03. Even if it was a number, you still have to cast it as date. Believe it or not, it may work sometimes, and it does, but it will not always work. What have I missed? It doesn't like something. Oh, it doesn't like, of course it doesn't like this extra one. There. So these are the number of sales. Now we'll say, we'll change the heading on 12th March. And they're all greater than 0. I didn't count the equal to 0. Maybe there was none, maybe there was, I don't know. But the question was number of sales greater than 0 made on 12th of March 2007. So please don't forget to cast your date. You don't have to cast a field. If a field is of type date, you don't cast that field. But if you're using text data, remember this is just text data. Something in course is text data. You have to cast it into date if you're going to, oops, if you're going to, what was it called? What is the field called, guys? Sales underscore date. Thank you. Silly. Now you don't need a cast here. This is redundant and useless. I mean, what's the sense of saying this? This type is already a field type. It's already a date type. And a couple of students did this. Maybe they were just thinking too much. Oh, she's asked for casting, let me cast it. But this is already a date type field. You use cast when you're trying to use a value that is not a date. You'll say, but that's a date. No, that's just text data. It's just text data when you write it like this. Right? So this is redundant. Please don't do this. We don't cast a field. We cast a value if you want, and we should. You should cast date values. And I'm telling you, sometimes it will work. I've seen it working. There's no doubt about it. But sometimes it won't work. So why should you learn something that may or may not work? Learn something that will always work. So even if there were no dashes here, I can even do it like this, and it will still work. It will be fine. I can use it as a number. Remember, dates can be written in 2 formats. You can do the dashes, you can do it without dashes. So both should work. So let's try both. I'm hoping both should work. So I'll do it as 1, and I'll do the same thing. You can do the same thing. And remember, we said we don't need the dashes, and you can write it as a number like this. You can write it as a number. and they should both give you number of sales on March 12th. I don't know how many there are, but let's see. I think there are 4 each girl, but greater than 0, I'm not sure.
Yes,
Oh.
right. It's actually sale date.
Oops, thank you.